I got involved in the hustle game when I was about 12 years old at a very young age. And I have like 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and my oldest brother was the vice president of a local street gang called Cold Spring Manhattan Lovers. His name was Iceberg. And I had another brother by the name of Gary and another brother by the name of Ronnie. And the other brother was too really young to understand what was going on. And what my brother would do, the rest...
This call is from a federal prison.
Me and my other brothers would follow my older brother Iceberg and whatever he done. Now, like I said, at the time I was like 12. My other brother was like, Ronnie was like 11. And Gary, he was like 13 at the time. And so when my brother became a vice president of a gang, then me and my other little brothers would follow behind him, and we would get in the gang. And so as time went on, probably about a year or two as that went on, my brother stopped being in the gang, and he became a hustler. He started hustling in the streets, selling drugs. So he would give me a number like 1 and 1, my other little brother a number 2 and 2, and then Ronnie a number 3 and 3. So if he said 1 and 1, that meant bringing 1 bundle of dope. If he said 2 and 2, that meant bringing 2 bundles of dope from Gary or Ronnie. If he said 3 and 3, that means Ronnie are bringing 3 bundles of dope. So he stopped being a gang leader. He started being a drug dealer. So as time went on, then he started hustling. He started having girlfriends, and he became a pimp. And so I had an aunt. I got 2 aunts that was prostitutes, and one of them was very pretty, and she used to have a pimp, and she stopped being with her pimp, and she would take me with her. She had a Broham Cadillac at the time. This was a long time ago. I was about 13 now. And what she would do is she would go out on Chippewa, she would go up in Niagara Falls, and she would prostitute. And what she would do is keep me inside a restaurant, and I would drink orange juice and eat candy bars and stuff like that. And every time she get money, she would bring me the money to hold for her. Then she'd take me all over the city, take me to Niagara Falls, and take me everywhere. I really didn't see anything wrong with any of this because I was so young at the time, and I really didn't understand what was going on. And it was 7 of us, so my mother was kind of young when she had so many kids. So my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt took care of all 7 of us. My grandmother took some of us, my aunt took some of us, and some of us stayed with my mother because my mother was a very young lady at that time, and she was very pretty, but she had 7 kids, so she'd be out, you know, in bars or clubs or something, things like that, and she really didn't have time for 7 kids, I would assume. But she done the best she could under the circumstances. And so as time went on, my older brother Iceberg would tell us, the younger brothers, don't never tell on nobody, don't never snitch on nobody. If you see things in the streets, you don't say them. You leave the streets where the streets is at. That's how I got into it.
Now, when did you become what you call street poison?
I became street poison because I like what I saw inside the streets. I admire what I saw inside the streets. I became the streets, and by me being around my aunt and by me being around my older brother, you know, I love the streets. I love what I seen in the streets. And so I began to live in the streets and skip school and, you know, be around my aunt or try to hang around my older brother. And I just became fascinated with the streets because of what the streets represented and what I seen in the streets and through my aunt and my older brother. And my brother was like a local legend at that time in the streets. He made a lot of money. He stayed very well dressed. And, you know, we just wanted to be like our brother. Me and my little younger brothers, we seen what he done, and we just followed behind him, and we wanted to be like him. And so we followed behind him. And everything he did, we tried to emulate, and we tried to do. So I became street poison. I became the streets. I became like the streets, and I became obligated to the streets. You know, and I didn't want to do nothing else but be in the streets because that's what I grew up seeing. My older brother and my aunt in the streets.
Now, Sly, eventually this led to you being charged with certain violations of law.
Yes.
Can you just tell me about those and how did those come into being, what those laws were?
Okay, as I grew older, I got charged. First, I got charged with some guys killed my little brother. So I got charged with the murder of some of the guys that killed my little brother. I went to trial. I proceeded to trial, so I got convicted, and I received 25 to life for the state of New York. And then, about 18 months later, I go on trial for the feds with a 73-count indictment with 32 co-defendants from various cities and states, with a few, 2 Colombians and a guy from another country. I go on trial. They put me on top of the indictment, and they accuse me of being the boss, the crime boss, the godfather.
Sly, I want to ask you, how many cases have you had thrown out successfully since you've really become active as a jailhouse lawyer?
Okay, I've won 166 cases and 5 Supreme Court cases.
Wow.
That's how many I've won thus far within the last 25 years that I was incarcerated. But like I told you, it took me 6 years to learn the law, because the only way I felt that I would ever be free, or that I would ever be able to gain my freedom or cut the sentence down, is that I had to learn the law based on what the guy told me 25 years ago while I was in Leavenworth Federal United States Penitentiary, and this guy was from St. Louis, and he told me, the only way you're going to get out on a case like that is you got to learn the law and get yourself out, because no lawyer is going to get you out on a case like that.
So have you helped a lot of people that you've helped that have been severely, unfairly convicted and given overabundance of time?
Yes, I've helped guys that had life sentences. I've won 4 life sentences. I've won cases with guys that had 30 years, guys that had multi-life sentences. I've won 166 cases and 5 Supreme Court cases. And the reason why I was able to win these cases is because I felt that, the witnesses that testified against me, a lot of them did not tell the truth. They testified. They went into the federal witness program. I had lawyers. Once I came to prison, I found out that there was a lot of things that the lawyers could have said during the trial that would have helped me that they did not say, or that they did not know to say.
Okay.
And so I studied law. I read law books. I read about judges. I read about lawyers, and I've been studying law. Every time something new come out, I try to comprehend it and study it. And, I read books about Supreme Court justices. I read books about great lawyers, and I just stay abreast on it, working on my case as well, trying to get out, because I started out with 5 life terms in 135 years. And, the only way I'm ever get out of prison is that I have to know the law to get out, because nobody else is going to get me out, not even a lawyer. I have to.
This call is from a federal prison.
And so, I stay working on the case. And now what I do is I have guys that's in prison, and what I do is I teach law classes within the prison.
Okay.
And so I have a law class here at the prison that I'm on, and I teach the other inmates about law. So that they can help themselves. And I've helped a lot of guys out that had 30 years, 20 years. I helped a lot of guys out that had serious sentences.
Let's start talking about your case again and how certain things happened. What were your thoughts when your trial started and they were transporting you by military helicopter?
Okay, when the feds arrested me, they came on a military helicopter. They strapped me down in the helicopter the same way they strapped Noriega and El Chapo down. They had a machine gun boat on the helicopter, They landed. They took me for about 3 hours. They landed on some private government land. And there was like 17 to 23 guys looked like agents. They was lined up. And there was another guy standing on the side of them giving them a dissertation. I had a camera in the front of me. I had another camera in the back of me. And as I'm going to the helicopter, military helicopter, I got all these guys that's in military gear standing around the helicopter. And I get on the helicopter, and one of the captain says to me, "I'm Captain such and such." You know, so he was a captain of the helicopter that he was on, or a captain in the army, or wherever he was from. So they take me to Buffalo. When I get to Buffalo, because I done landed the second time, once I get to a little town outside of Buffalo, it must have been Cheektowaga or something.
Yes.
They got like 17 cars lined up. They put me in one of them. You don't know which one I'm in because they got all these sirens and things like that. And they take me. And when I get downtown, I get ready. About a few months later, I go on trial. Now, once I go on trial, they got FBI by all the bus stops for a 3-mile radius. They got snipers on all the roofs and surrounding areas for a 3-mile radius. They got over 150 U.S. Marshals patrolling the trial. Now, how do I know all this? Because all this is in the transcripts, all this is in the newspaper, and they constantly saying, yo, he's being transported by military vehicles. So what they did is they called in U.S. prosecutors. They had 4 U.S. prosecutors against me. Mr. Hochul, Mr. Endler, a guy by the name of Mr. Stephenson or Stevenson, and some other guy that I don't know. But 2 of these guys was from Washington. They bring in Washington U.S. prosecutors. They call them organized task force prosecutors when they prosecute major cases. Now, even though they accuse me of being a crime boss, and even though they accuse me of consolidating drug gangs and putting them together and, you know, controlling the city and all this type of stuff, it was made up just to get me indicted. It was made up to get me convicted. They gave me more time than they gave Gotti and the Unabomber put together. They gave Gotti 100 years plus life. They gave the Unabomber 3 lives. They gave me, on the federal case, 4 lives in 110 years. They gave me more time than they gave both of them put together. And then they paid the witnesses to testify against me. Like on the state case, they paid the witness, Mr. Wright, $250,000. I never seen the guy before. Then they paid another guy to get his charges dropped. They put them in the federal witness program. It seems like everybody that testified against me, they went in the federal program and they got some benefit. And I just want to be honest with you, Pat. I sold some drugs, but man, I'm not guilty of selling no $1 billion worth of drugs. I'm not guilty of selling all the drugs that they said. I'm not guilty of 11 extortions, 9 kidnappings, multi-hits, controlling this city, that city, you know, being in charge of 11 captains and 3 underbosses. I mean, they blew the case up, man. They made me bigger than life. That's what they did.
Sly, they accuse you of selling 100 keys a month.
They accused me of selling 100 keys a month. When the judge sentenced me, he held me responsible for 100 keys a month for 5 years. That's over $1 billion. You know?
Did they try to prove that, or was it just hype?
They tried to prove it, but it was hype. It was media hype. That's all it was. They tried to prove that, but the judge ended up saying that, yo, I'm giving you 100 keys a month from 1987 all the way to 1992, and gave me 100 keys a month. Accused me of being the boss, and kept saying, oh, if you was going to be a boss, you would have been a good boss of a CEO corporation and things like that. I was never a boss. You were
they called you the Godfather.
Yeah, they said that I was the black John Gotti of the city, that I was a black crime boss. That's what they accused me. They said that I consolidated the drug gangs and brought them all together and created a commission within the organization. They charged me with saying that I had 11 captains and 3 underbosses on me. Then they said that I had captains in other cities. You know, they blew the case up.
What was the name of the gang that they said you were running?
They said I was running a LA Boys gang. I never heard of no LA Boys gang until they arrested me.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard of that. I never heard of anything like that until they arrested me. No such thing ever existed. Then they say I was running an organization called La Family. Then they say I was the crime boss of an organization. So they use various names.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
None of this ever proved.
No, this wasn't proven at all. No, that was not proven. I'm just being very honest with you.
Now, when you were forced to see the trial from a video room, they said you blew up in the courtroom. Was that reacting to someone that you didn't know?
The reason why I was taken out of trial and put into a bullpen, and I had to watch it from upstairs in a bullpen, because the trial went on for several months. And the reason why is because I had a girlfriend of mine. Her name was Doris.
This call is from a federal prison.
Her name was Doris Parker, and she got up on the stand and she started saying he has so much money. I never seen that much money in my life. This is what she's saying. But I don't know she getting me charged with the Super Kingpin Act. I don't know she getting me charged with RICO Enterprise, because those are some of the elements that you get charged with large sums of money. So I jumped up and I said, Your Honor, she's a lying bitch. Just like that, because those are the words that came out of my mouth, because she's lying. And I felt that, well, damn, how could you jump up there and say this when everything that I've done for you, I never disrespected you, I never crossed you, or done nothing like this for you, and you getting up there and you lying for the government to help get me more time. Mm-hmm. And so I jumped up, I said that. Then I had another witness. He testifying. And he's saying that, well, this was a organized crime organization, and I jumped up on him. I said, Johnny's lying, because he wasn't around me in order for him to say the things that he was saying. Mm-hmm. So I became emotionally upset about some of the things that they were saying. Then I had another guy I was close to, and he was accused of being one of the captains of this so-called organization that the government created, and he was up on a stand, and he was testifying, and he was up there smiling like everything was a joke. So I jumped up and I hollered and I screamed on him and threw a water pitcher, because, Pat, I was highly upset, man. I was agitated, man, because they up on the stand, they testifying, and some things that's being said is true, but a lot of things that's being said is not true. So the things that they were saying, some of the things that they were saying that were not true, I reacted to them. I should not have reacted to them like that, but that's how I reacted.
Sly, let me ask you, have you found that some of the people that testified against you were under the employ of the federal government?
Well, some of the people that testified against me, most of them was under the influence of the federal government, and the federal government told them what to say and how to say what they said in order for those charges to stick to me, in order for the elements to meet, in order for the jury to come back with a verdict like they did, to try to prove the elements of a Super Kingpin Act, to try to prove the elements of a RICO Enterprise, to try to prove the elements of a conspiracy. They gave me 4 conspiracies in one case and put me on top of the indictment and said that I'm involved in 4 conspiracies in one case with 32 co-defendants. Mm-hmm. That's impossible, man. That was impossible. So no matter if I was innocent of some of the charges or not, they already had it rigged up so that I would get convicted. And so I got kicked out of trial, and when I got kicked out of trial, I had to watch it from a monitor. But I was strapped down in the chair. The judge did let me stay strapped down in the chair, but I jumped up again because another witness started saying things that I just felt wasn't true. Mm. And they just kicked me out of trial, and I had to watch the trial from a TV monitor upstairs. It's not that. It's just that I was so emotionally upset about how they just got up there and was influenced and manipulated by the government to say the things that they were saying about me, that I reacted in a way that I should have never reacted to.
Sly, we're going to take a short break. Be right back here on a special edition of The Message here with Donald Sly Green. Listening to him and hearing his story. We'll be back after this short break. I'm here with Donald Sly Green as we continue our conversation about his story, and we're talking about the trial and how the trial began to take shape. Sly, this was said to be the biggest case in Western New York history. Do you feel that you were just being tried in the media, that there was just too much hype for you to win or get a proper defense?
I feel that not only was it too much hype, but that the government influenced the witnesses to lie. The witnesses was willing to say and do anything in order to get themselves off. There was co-defendants on the case. Some of them I had never seen or met before. And the government will threaten to take your kids away from you. The government will tell you what to say, tell you how to say it, practice it with you so that you'll be able to say it in a way to convince the jury that you're telling the truth. It may have been the biggest trial in the history of the city or in the Western District of New York to them, but it was the biggest hype to me. Because the things that went on in that trial was unbelievable. And the government, they'll do anything, Pat, to win a case. I don't care what it is. They'll threaten to take your kids away from you. They'll threaten to put you in jail for long periods of time. Like the government, they sent word to one of the lawyers to inform me that, inform Mr. Green that if he come over on our side, we'll make him a star. I said, I don't want to be a star in the way that you're talking about making me a star. I have no intentions on testifying against anybody to get myself out of anything or making life harder for somebody else just because I want to get out of the situation that I'm unfortunately in at the time that I was in it. I said, I'm going to trial. And I told the lawyers on the case, I don't want the lawyers to bring me that type of information again from the U.S. attorneys telling me that they could do this. I didn't want to hear it, so I proceeded right to trial. In other words, no matter how big the trial was, no matter what was going to happen, I was going to stand up to the very end. And I was not going to sacrifice anybody or put anybody under the bus or lie and fabricate anything against anybody. I was not going to do that on the state case when I went to trial, and I definitely was not going to do that on the federal case when I went to trial because that's not how I was raised in the streets,
Sly, let me ask you this. While all of this was going on around you, how were you feeling, knowing what you were up against? What were your thoughts? I mean, what were you thinking in regards to yourself, but I know most importantly, your family? What were you thinking?
Okay, well, I had just got 25 to life for the state of New York. Now, as I'm going through the trial and I get convicted, I'm thinking like, I just got convicted. They getting ready to sentence me. They sentenced me to 4 life terms and 110 years. That's 5 life terms and 135 years running wild, running crazy. And what's running through my mind is that I'm saying to myself that it's over with for me. I might as well commit suicide or something like that. This is what I'm saying to myself, but I know I'm not going to commit suicide. I know I'm just going to stand up, learn much as I can about the law, try to learn much as I can about the law to try to get myself out the situation. At the time, I got 2 little boys and a daughter. And, I'm thinking like, damn, I can't be there for them now. Now, I could have put myself in a situation whereas if I wanted to lie and fabricate like the witnesses done against me to be with them, but I just couldn't see myself doing that, Pat. Their mothers was just going to have to raise them, and I was just going to have to see them in the way that I done seen them over the years. If I had to try to become a rat or a snitch or something like that, that I was not going to become. And it's running through my mind like I got these 3 little babies, and, man, it's hurting, it's killing me, man. But I know I got to stand to the end, man. I got to stand up, and their mothers, they looking at me. They not telling me to roll over or do this or do that because I'm not going to do it anyway. Then I got my mother. My mother is worrying. My family is worrying, my brothers and all of them, but my main objective, Pat, I got to be honest with you, man. My main objective is I'm going all the way through. I'm not copping out. I'm not asking for mercy or none of that. I'm just going to stand up all the way through the whole thing. And now Those are the type of things that's running through my mind. And another thing that's running through my mind is that I'll never, ever see the streets again. Another thing that's running through my mind is that I'm all in. They done took me down with lies. They done took me down with, with paid testimony. They lining up to testify to get themselves off a situation. But I know I'm up against all this, Pat, and I see all this. But I'm still going to stand to the very end because that's how I was bred from the streets, man. That's how I came up. I'm standing up to the end. Now, somebody would say that, yo, this guy's crazy. This guy's a fool. To them, I may be that. But to me, I was being the man that I am because that's just how I was raised in life, man, to stand up on my own and don't blame nothing on nobody else. Don't take my burden, my situation, and put it on somebody else. That's how I seen it, Pat.
All right. Sly, how many co-defendants were there in total?
I had 32 co-defendants on the case, and 9 of them testified. 9 out of 32, 9 testified, and some of them went in, like I said, some of them went into the Federal Witness Protection Program. But the whole thing of the case was to take me down. They didn't care how they took me down, Pat. They didn't care whether they lied. They didn't care what they had to do. This is the federal government. They'll arrest your grandmother. They'll arrest your mother. They'll arrest your sisters and brothers. They'll take the babies and put them in foster care. If they want you bad enough, they'll do anything within their power to take you down. They don't care if you're innocent or not, Pat. That's what they do. This is the federal government, man. And this is what they done to me. They've done any and everything they can to take me down. They didn't care if I was innocent of most of those charges or not. We taking this guy Sly Green down. And that's what they done, man. And I'm saying to myself, you take me down, I'm standing up to the very end. And that's how I seen it, Pat.
Sly, let me ask you this. You told me you're writing a book.
Yes.
What is the goal of your book, and when do we look to see when it comes out?
The book should be out this year, probably around September or October of this year, and the name of the book is called Diaries of a Jailhouse Lawyer, Volume 1. There's a Volume 1, there's a Volume 2, and there's a Volume 3. And the book is based on me coming into the federal and state prison system with 5 life terms and 135 years, and not sitting around in the prisons watching TV, not sitting around in the prisons playing basketball or playing cards, but coming into the system, going straight to the law library and trying to untangle this 5 life terms and 135 years. And inside the book, it tells the younger guys and the youth, you don't want to be like Sly Green, because Sly Green was serving 5 life terms and 135 years. So you don't want to grow up admiring, emulating, being like this guy that they talk about, Sly Green. Because Sly Green don't want to be the type of guy that they labeled him as being. And Sly Green is not that type of guy that they labeled him as being. And Sly Green is not trying to be in prison for 5 life terms and 135 years. So for all the younger guys, the book tells you, when you go to trial, you stand up at trial. When you come to federal and state prisons, now you got to stand up against inmates. Okay, you stood up in the public, now you got to come here and stand up. Now you got to fight your way through these guys. Now you got to show these guys that you're not soft. Now you got to go through a whole different type of initiation in order for you to survive in these type of prisons. So you don't want to be like Sly Green, because if you be like Sly Green, then the feds in the state will do the same thing to you that they done to Sly Green. So the best thing I would say for the youth in the book, as I say, is that, turn the page to a different life. Go to school, educate yourself, do something constructive for yourself. And if you can stay out the streets, stay out the streets. But don't come up trying to emulate a guy like Sly Green, because that guy is dead and gone. You don't want to be like Sly Green. Now, if I had it to do all over again, I would go to law school and become a lawyer. Right. Even though I have 2 degrees now. But I would go to law school and become a lawyer because when I came in here, I went straight to the law library. Now I know the law. Now I know how to write the law. I know how to dictate the law. I know how to do motions. I know how to file all kind of things. I know how to help people get out of jail. So I've grown from being in this here type of prison environment. I've grown from this prison experience. And I'm in here around judges. They got a judge every here and there come to prison. They got lawyers come to prison. They got doctors come to prison. They got murders. They got crime bosses. They got kingpins that come to prison. And they got some guys that commit certain type of crimes that if they commit rapes or they hurt old people or something, they can't come in these prison populations because they're not accepted.
Right.
You know? But my point is, you don't want to be like Sly Green. That's for the public. Don't try to be like Sly Green, because if you try to be like Sly Green, then you're going to end up in the same situation that Sly Green is in, and you're going to be fighting for the rest of your life for your freedom, and you may die in prison, just like Sly Green may die in prison if he don't get this last life off of him. If Sly Green don't get this last life off of him, he'll die in prison trying to get out of prison. And that's what the book is about. The book is about all the cases, a lot of the cases that I won, about the experiences that I went through in high security Colorado, which is Florence, Colorado, the experiences that I went through in Lewisburg, United States Penitentiary, Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, Leavenworth Federal United States Penitentiary. And when I say they was penitentiaries, Pat, I mean exactly that. When I came to Leavenworth, it looked just like the White House. It looked so dangerous and vicious, I was scared to death, man. I said, damn, what have I got myself into? When I seen this penitentiary, because I had never seen a penitentiary like this. And then when I got inside the penitentiary, it looked like the morgue, like some people done died in the basement of the penitentiary. And so I'm even more afraid. I'm shivering now. And I'm like, damn, what is this? Then when I get upstairs and I get into the areas, they got 80 cells long. The cells is 80 cells long. You can't even see at the end of the cells. So I'm like, damn. And then all of a sudden when I go to the mess hall is so big, it looked like the United Nations. You got Indians there, you got blacks there, you got whites there, you got Mexicans there. You got all the different gangs throughout the United States in this one penitentiary. You got like 34 different gangs there. You got crime bosses there. You got gangsters, you got killers, you got murder. You got a whole lot of Sly Greens in there. You see what I'm saying? So don't look at Sly Green like he's some tough guy or he was some crime boss. That's not the case. Because I was none of that, and they got somebody for Sly Green as well, right in them prisons, along with Sly Green. You know, they got many Sly Greens in them prisons that's never coming out of them prisons.
Have any of these groups tried to recruit you based on the hyped reputation of Sly Green?
You know, they talk to me and stuff like that, but I don't pay them no attention when they come to that. A lot of them done said things to me, and, you know, I could have been a shot caller, or OG shot caller, triple OG, because that's what they use and all that. But I don't get involved in things like that, Pat. Every day that I've been in prison, I've been in that law library. I go outside, I do 2 hours of physical workout. I come back and I spend the rest of my time in the law library. Whenever the prison get locked down for any type of disciplinary actions, I go straight to the law books in my cell. My whole objective is to one day be free.
As you well know, just from the hype that you experienced on how they tried to build a personality around you, that same personality was being permeated before you left in the hip-hop world of this gangster type image that a lot of our young people are beginning to follow, that type of image in the street. What would be your message to them outside of continuing on what you've already said?
My message would be to them is don't go for the hype. Don't get involved with situations that might cause you to become incarcerated, especially in prison, because that's all it is hype. Don't try to be like Sly Green. Don't make songs and lyrics and everything about Sly Green, because that guy is only an image that the federal government built up in order for them to win a trial. That's not me. The image that they built up as Sly Green being a gangster type of guy, a boss, crime boss, that guy's not me. Sly Green is a guy that's in prison right now, suffering every day, trying to get himself out of prison. Sly Green is a guy that's looking towards the future for a better life if he can ever get out of prison. I don't see myself as being the type of guy that they should make lyrics about. I don't see myself as being the type of guy that's a gangster or anything like that, because I'm none of that. It's just the image that the government built up. It's a fake image. It's an image that they portrayed. It's an image that they projected upon me in order to win a trial. And the things that's been said about me as being, you know, this crime boss, this gangster, this real fly and serious guy, that's not me. I just want to be very honest with you. That's not me. That's just something that was built up by the government to take me down. And no matter who you are, if the government come for you and they want to take you down, they don't care. They're going to take you down by any means necessary. Like I said, they don't care if they got to get your mother, your grandmother, if they got to take your kids from you, if they got to charge you with being a super kingpin, a racketeering boss, if they got to charge you with criminal enterprise, if they got to give you 4 conspiracies and 1 conspiracy and make you look bigger than life, like they done made Sly Green look bigger than life. But see, I'm not impressed with the hype. And I ask that the young kids not be impressed with the hype. I ask that the young kids not try to idolize me or emulate me, because that's not me. The image that was built up about me, that's not me. That's just something that was built up in order for the government to win a trial. I'm not that type of guy. You know, I'm a guy in the law library every day trying to get my freedom. I'm a guy that's doing a life sentence and may die in prison all because of an image, all because of something that's been built up, all because of something that's been fantasized about me. And I'm saying this to you, Pat, because this is what's in the book as well, and I'm trying to tear that image down that the government done built up about me, that the public got about me, the monster they done created me into. You know, I'm just not that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I got 2 degrees. I work out every day. I do exercise every day. And one more thing for the young guys. When you come to these prisons, they need to remember that when they come to these prisons, for an example, in the federal penitentiaries that I'm in, when you come to these federal penitentiaries like Lewisburg, like Leavenworth, like High Security, Colorado, you come into these federal prisons with guys from all over the world, not just from the United States, guys from all over the world. You got some of the most dangerous, vicious guys in these prisons, and all they do is self-destruct. All they do is kill, murder, stab, rape, sexually abuse each other, disrespect each other. They're not trying to educate themselves. Some of them are. About 10% of them, out of 100%, 10% of them will try to educate themselves and strive to better their position in life so that upon or re-entry back into society, they'll have some type of skills and, you know, they want to do something positive with their life. But the average one is just talking about more crime, how to be more of a successful criminal. And that's not what I'm doing. You know, and when you come to these prisons, there's always the possibility that you may never make it out, because a lot of guys get stabbed, a lot of guys get murdered, a lot of guys get raped, a lot of guys get killed. Certain guys can't make it in these prisons. The environments that you're being subjected to is subhuman environments. You're being controlled through the conditions of how they feel that they want to control it in these prisons. So when you think about Sly Green, you need to think about, do I want to spend the rest of my life in prison? Do I want to have to go to the law library every day and try to knock down 5 life terms and 135 years with the possibility that I may never, ever be free again? When you think about Sly Green and these guys making these rap songs, talking about Sly Green, which some of them I have heard, that's not me. I'm not that type of guy. I'm not no gangster. I'm not no crime boss. I'm just a guy that got caught up in a very unfortunate situation. And the situation got blowed up and got blowed out of hand. It's out of control. And now they done made me into this legendary figure on the streets, and I'm none of that. And I want the public to know that. I want the young guys that's going to school, I want y'all to know that Sly Green image is a fake. That's a fraud. That's something that the government built up to make me into. I'm not that. I'm not going to try to live up to it. And if I had it my way right now, I would be out there talking to the youth, trying to explain to the guys in the little boys club or explain it to anybody that would listen to me that, listen, man, I'm not about selling drugs. Some I have sold, but I've redeemed myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about ordering no hits or kidnappings, extortion, or being a crime boss or something like that. I'm not into that. I was never into that in the beginning. It's been blowed up to be something that it never was. And I'm not going to stay in prison, and when people come see me, yo, that's such and such, that's not. No, I'm not living up to that image. Anybody that's been in these prisons will tell you that I'm not that type of guy. I'm a gentleman. I'm respectful, you know. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a killer. I'm not this bigger-than-life figure. That's just something that the government used to create an image to take me down. And I ask that the public look at me as being the gentleman that I am, and that's what the book is about. The book is about that. And those young guys need to know, man, that when you come to these prisons, all they doing is stabbing, murder, and killing each other, because all the vicious and dangerous guys is being piled into the high security prisons. I done went through it. I know. You got 34, 35 different gangs in one prison. They having gang wars. They murdering. They killing each other. They disrespecting each other. You know? They ain't talking about, yo, I'm going to try to get a better education so that if I ever re-enter into society, I'll be able to do something positive and constructive with my life.
What are your degrees in, Sly?
I got 2 degrees. I got one in business and the other one in business administration. I got 2 of them. And everything that I'm saying, Pat, is in transcripts and news.
This call is from a federal prison.
And all the 166 cases in the 5 Supreme Court cases that I won, all they got to do is click on most of the U.S. district courts in the United States. I done had a case damn near in every circuit in the United States, you know, and in district court. So if anybody don't believe that I won 166 cases and 5 Supreme Court cases, all they got to do is plug into the court, put Donald G. Green, and put 397-47019, and they'll see that I done won 166 cases and 5 Supreme Court cases. Those guys didn't used to like you to put their name on the cases, but a few years ago I started putting my name on my cases because I've been winning so many, and it's like a gift. I need to say this to you too, Pat. One day I had to get a filling in my tooth, and so my tooth was, the dentist filled my tooth, but my tooth got poisoned. Poison came into my bloodstream. So I hit the floor. When I hit the floor, I went out. And so I'm walking, and I got people on this side and people on the other side because I'm walking this long, bright light. And an angel comes out of nowhere, and I can't describe how the angel looked. All I know is it was like a voice I never heard before, and there was a presence there. And as I'm walking in this straight line towards the light, it's a big bright light at the end. And I got people hollering and screaming at me, and they below me, and they in dark, but I'm walking on this bright line, and they hollering and screaming about me, about everything I ever done in life. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And I'm afraid to look down, because if I look down, they're going to pull me down. So an angel come out of nowhere and say, don't pay him no attention. Just keep walking and keep looking straight ahead towards the light. So I keep looking straight ahead towards the light. I keep walking with the angel. Another angel come around that angel and come over to the right side. And the other angel, like, it hurry off like it was running off or something. And this angel say to me, we're not ready for you yet. We still have a lot left for you to do. So I know that I'm still in prison, and I know that this here is a near-death experience, and this ain't no dream or nothing like that. And so I go to walk, and I tell the angel, I said, no, I want to go, because I know I'm in federal prison doing this life sentence, and I don't want to come back. So the angel said, no, we still have a lot left for you to do. So I go to step, because I want to still go towards the light. And when I look down, it's like what they call that hellfire. I look, I step back, and I come back into the life that I'm in the dentist's office, and I'm in all this pain and all this here stuff because my bloodstream and my face done blew up so big. It's a shame. So they rushed me to the hospital. And I ain't never forget that, man. So what I'm saying to you is saying that I must have been given a gift to be able to win them cases like I'm winning them, because I can't even believe that I be winning them like I win them. I just got so good at it. When the ones I take, I win them. I don't win every one of them, Pat, Of the 166 in the 5 Supreme Courts, I only lost 5 cases since I've been doing law. You know, and I just feel that it's a gift. I just feel that God got better things for me to do. And that story that I just told you is a true story. And I put that in the book, too.
Awesome.
You know,
like that.
The angel said, we still have a lot left for you to do. We're not ready for you yet. Now, the other angel could have been the angel of death.
That's right.
I don't know. You know?
That's right.
Those are the type of things that I've been going through.